You keep playing the lottery because hope is the last thing you still have. Every week, at the same small convenience store on the corner, you stand in line with the same quiet people. Some smile, some stare at the floor. You hand over a few dollars and whisper the same numbers you've played for years. Tonight feels different. Your hands shake just a little as you hold the ticket. You tell yourself not to get excited. You've been disappointed before. But deep down, something stirs. A thought you try to push away but can't. What if this is it? On the way home, you imagine things you never allow yourself to imagine anymore. Paying off the house, fixing the old car, helping your daughter who never asks for help but clearly needs it. Maybe even sleeping through the night for once without worry. You sit at the kitchen table alone. The clock ticks loudly, too loudly. You place the ticket beside your coffee mug and stare at it like it might disappear if you look away. You don't realize it yet, but this small piece of paper is about to take more from you than you ever expected. The television hums softly in the background as the numbers begin to roll. You sit closer than usual, elbows on the table, heart beating louder with each second. You tell yourself to stay calm, but your body doesn't listen. Your foot taps the floor. Your fingers tighten around the ticket. The first number appears. It matches. You freeze. Your breath catches in your chest as the second number comes up. It matches too. A strange warmth spreads through you. Not joy yet, but something close, something dangerous. You whisper, "No. No way." The third number appears. Another match. Your hands start to tremble now. Your eyes blur, and you quickly wipe them, afraid you might miss something. You've never made it this far before, not even close. The fourth number rolls in. Match. You stand up so fast your chair scrapes loudly against the floor. Your heart is racing now, pounding so hard it almost hurts. You press the ticket to your chest like it might run away. You think of your late spouse. "If only you were here," you whisper into the empty room. Then the fifth number appears, almost, just one digit off. Your stomach drops. You sit back down slowly, staring at the screen, hoping, praying that maybe you read it wrong. But deep down, you already know. Still, there's one number left. And you cling to it like a lifeline, because if that last number hits, everything could still change. The final number spins on the screen, slow and cruel. You lean forward, holding your breath like that might somehow influence the outcome. Your heart feels too big for your chest. Your ears ring. For a brief moment, the world shrinks down to that single glowing number. It lands. It's not yours. Silence fills the room. Not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. You stare at the ticket again, then back at the screen, then at the ticket once more, as if the numbers might rearrange themselves if you look hard enough. So close, you think, so close it hurts. Your knees feel weak as you sit back down. The warmth you felt earlier drains away, replaced by a cold emptiness. You laugh quietly. Not because anything is funny, but because the alternative would be to cry. You fold the ticket carefully, too carefully. For a moment, you allow yourself to imagine the alternate version of this night. The phone calls you would have made, the tears of relief, the weight lifting off your shoulders. You imagine waking up tomorrow without that familiar knot in your stomach. Then reality settles in. The ticket goes into your pocket, not the trash. You tell yourself, next time. You don't realize it yet, but next time has already stolen years from your life. The next morning feels heavier than it should. Nothing has changed, yet everything feels different. You wake up before the alarm, staring at the ceiling, replaying the numbers in your head like a bad song you can't turn off. You tell yourself to let it go. It was just a ticket, just a game. But your chest tightens anyway. On the way to work, you stop at the same convenience store. You don't plan to. Your hands just turn the wheel on their own. The clerk nods, already reaching for the tickets before you even speak. That small gesture stings more than you expect. It means you've been here too often. It means you're predictable. You choose the same numbers again. Because what if? Days turn into weeks, weeks into months. The ticket becomes part of your routine, like coffee, like bills, like pretending everything is fine. You stop talking about your dreams out loud. They feel embarrassing now. Childish. At night you sit alone at the kitchen table, ticket beside you, heart quietly hoping while your mind tells you not to. Each draw takes a little more out of you. And still, you keep playing. You don't notice it at first. It's not one big moment. It's a slow change, the kind that sneaks in quietly and makes itself at home before you realize anything is wrong. You start feeling tired all the time. Not the kind of tired sleep can fix, but a deeper one. A tiredness that settles in your bones. You wake up already exhausted, as if hope itself has been pulling overtime. The lottery ticket sits on the counter again. You look at it longer than usual this time, not with excitement, but with something closer to obligation. Like skipping it would mean admitting something you're not ready to face. You tell yourself, it's just a few dollars. But it's never just the money. It's the waiting, the imagining, the quiet disappointment that follows. You catch your reflection in the microwave door, older than you remember, eyes duller than they used to be. For a second, you don't recognize yourself. Still, when the numbers are announced, your heart jumps, because even now, some small part of you still believes, and that part is getting very, very tired. One evening your daughter calls. Her voice sounds tired, older than it should. She talks about work, about bills, about how everything seems to cost more and give less these days. You listen quietly, nodding, holding the phone close, like you're afraid the connection might break. At one point she sighs and says, "I just wish things were easier sometimes." Your chest tightens. You almost tell her about the ticket in your wallet, about how close you've been, about how you're trying, but the words stay stuck in your throat. You don't want to give her false hope. You don't want to sound foolish. After the call ends, you sit in silence. You remember a time when you were the strong one, the one with answers, the one who promised things would be okay, and meant it. You pull out the old envelope where you keep your tickets, dozens of them, carefully folded, dated, saved like proof that you never stopped believing. Your hands tremble as you realize how many years are stacked inside that envelope. Years you thought were leading somewhere. Years that never arrived. The envelope feels heavier than it should, not because of the paper, but because of what it represents. Every ticket is a moment you believed things might finally change. Every date is a reminder of how long you've been waiting. You sit at the table and spread them out slowly like old photographs. Some are faded, some barely legible. You can't remember what you felt when you bought most of them, only that you did. A sharp ache settles in your chest. You think about the nights you skipped dinner to save a few dollars. The repairs you put off, the trips you never took, all because you told yourself just one more draw. You press your fingers into your temples, trying to stop the thoughts, but they keep coming. What if the ticket never comes? What if this was never about winning, but about not wanting to face what you've lost? You gather the tickets back into the envelope, but your hands are slower now, heavier, like they don't want to keep pretending anymore. That night, sleep doesn't come easy, and when it finally does, it's filled with numbers that never line up. Morning light slips through the curtains, but it doesn't bring comfort. You sit on the edge of the bed longer than usual, staring at your hands. They look worn. They look like hands that have worked hard and waited even harder. A quiet question creeps into your mind, one you've avoided for years. What if I had done things differently? You think about chances you didn't take because you were waiting for the big win. Jobs you didn't apply for, moves you didn't make, conversations you postponed, believing you'd have time later. The regret doesn't scream, it whispers, and that makes it worse. At the store later that day, you stand in front of the lottery display. Bright colors, big promises. The clerk waits, patient, already knowing what you usually buy. For the first time, you hesitate. Your mouth opens, then closes. Behind you, someone clears their throat, and the moment passes. You buy the ticket anyway. As you walk out, you feel something heavy settle in your stomach. Not hope, something closer to loss. The house is too quiet, not the peaceful kind, the kind that reminds you no one is coming home. The refrigerator hums, the clock ticks, even the walls seem to listen. You sit in your favorite chair, the one that used to be shared. You run your hand along the armrest, worn smooth by years of resting elbows and quiet conversations. You talk to yourself sometimes now. Just small things. Don't forget the mail. Turn off the light. It makes the silence easier to bear. The ticket lies on the side table. You don't pick it up right away. You already know how this ends, yet part of you still waits, like an old habit that refuses to die. When the numbers are announced, you barely react. No rush, no shaking hands. Just a slow, familiar ache. You fold the ticket and place it with the others. The envelope is almost full now. You realize something that hurts more than losing ever did. You've been waiting so long, you forgot what you were waiting for. It happens on an ordinary night. No storm, no dramatic phone call, just exhaustion that finally spills over. You sit at the kitchen table with the envelope in front of you, bills stacked to one side, an unpaid notice on top. You don't open it. You already know what it says. Your hands move on their own. You open the envelope and pour the tickets out again. They scatter across the table, sliding over one another like they're trying to escape. For the first time, you don't arrange them. You don't count them. You just stare. And something inside you cracks. A sound escapes your chest. Half laugh, half sob. You press your palm to your mouth, but it's too late. The tears come fast now, blurring the numbers, soaking the paper. I waited, you whisper. I really waited. You realize this isn't about money anymore. It's about the years you told yourself, just hang on. The nights you fell asleep believing relief was coming. The mornings you woke up disappointed but still hopeful. You gather the tickets into your hands, crumpling a few without meaning to. For the first time, the thought hits you hard and clear. What if the winning ticket was never coming? And what if it never needed to? The tears leave you drained, but clearer than you felt in a long time. You sit there in the quiet, surrounded by crumpled tickets and unopened bills, breathing slowly, trying to steady yourself. Something has shifted. You can feel it. Not relief, not yet, but awareness. You think about all the times you said, one day I'll rest, one day I'll feel safe, one day I'll live instead of waiting. That day was always tied to a number that never came. You pick up one ticket, just one, and smooth it out. The numbers stare back at you, lifeless and ordinary. They never promised anything. You were the one who gave them power. That realization hurts because it means the waiting wasn't forced on you. It was chosen. Your chest tightens again, but this time there's something different underneath the pain. A quiet resolve, a thought you've never allowed yourself to finish. If nothing is coming to save me, then what am I going to do? The next morning feels unfamiliar, not lighter, just different. You wake up and reach for your wallet out of habit, already thinking about stopping by the store. Then you pause. Your hand lingers in the air, and for the first time in years, you let the moment pass. You make coffee and sit at the table without a ticket beside your mug. It feels wrong, empty, like forgetting something important, but also honest. You look around the kitchen, the chipped counter, the old calendar still turned to last month, the quiet that no longer feels as heavy as it did the night before. These things were always here, waiting for you to notice them. Later that day, you take a walk. Nothing dramatic, just around the block. But with every step, something loosens inside you. You're not chasing anything. You're just moving. A small thought settles in your mind, fragile but real. Maybe the change I was waiting for doesn't come on a ticket. Maybe it starts with a choice. Old habits don't disappear quietly. That afternoon, as you pass the convenience store, your feet slow down without you realizing it. The door is right there. Same place, same bright sign, same promise that once kept you going. For a moment you almost go in. You picture the clerk's nod, the familiar sound of paper sliding across the counter, the tiny spark of hope that always follows, quick and dangerous. Your chest tightens. Just one, the voice whispers. You've come this far. Why stop now? You stand there longer than you mean to, staring through the glass. Then you notice your reflection again. Tired, yes, but also awake. You take a breath, and you keep walking. It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like grief. Like saying goodbye to something that carried you through some very dark days, even if it hurt you in the end. Your hands shake as you reach the corner, but you don't turn back. The phone rings later that evening. It's your daughter again. You almost let it go to voicemail, not because you don't want to talk, but because you're afraid your voice might give you away. But you answer anyway. She talks about her day, about being tired, about feeling stuck. Then there's a pause. She asks softly, "Are you okay?" The question catches you off guard. For years, your answer has always been automatic. I'm fine, strong, reassuring, final. But tonight the words don't come. Instead, you say the truth. I've been waiting for something that never came. There's silence on the line. Not awkward, attentive. She listens as you explain, slowly, honestly. You don't mention numbers, you don't mention tickets, you just talk about waiting, about hoping, about being tired. When you finish, your voice shakes. She doesn't rush to fix it. She says, "I didn't know you were carrying all that alone." And in that moment, something lifts. Not the bills, not the past, but the weight of pretending. Part 15. The release. After the call ends, you stay seated for a long time. The house feels different now. Still quiet, but not empty. There's a warmth lingering in the air, like something unspoken finally found its way out. You walk to the drawer and take out the envelope. This time your hands are steady. You open it and look at what's left inside. Viewer tickets now. Some were torn, some lost, some soaked with tears the night before. They no longer feel powerful. They feel like paper. You take them to the trash. For a moment you hesitate. Then you let go. The sound they make as they land at the bottom of the bin is soft, almost nothing, and yet it echoes louder in your chest than any number announcement ever did. You don't feel joy. You feel relief, a deep, quiet release, like exhaling after holding your breath for years. You whisper to yourself, it's okay to stop waiting, and for the first time in a long while, you believe it. Life doesn't transform overnight. There's no music swelling, no sudden miracle, just small shifts, the kind you almost miss if you're not paying attention. You start paying bills one at a time instead of stacking them up. You fix the loose handle on the kitchen cabinet. You cook meals instead of grabbing whatever's cheapest and fastest. Each small task feels grounding. At the store, you still pass the lottery display. It doesn't call to you the way it used to. It's just there now. Bright, loud, easy to ignore. You begin sleeping better. Not perfectly, but deeper. You wake up with less weight on your chest. The tiredness hasn't vanished, but it's changing. It's the tiredness of living, not waiting. One afternoon, you find yourself smiling at something small. A bird on the fence, the sound of laughter from a neighbor's yard. It surprises you, because for so long, You believed happiness was something that arrived all at once. Now you're learning it shows up quietly. You hear about a big winner on the news, someone from another state, a smiling face holding a giant check, people cheering, confetti falling like it's proof of happiness. You watch for a moment, then you turn it off. Not because it hurts, but because it doesn't own you anymore. You think about what winning used to mean, escaping, fixing everything at once, being saved. Now it feels different. Winning is waking up without dread. Winning is answering the phone honestly. Winning is choosing not to wait for permission to live. You realize something quietly powerful. You didn't lose the lottery. You walked away from it. And that choice feels stronger than any number ever did. One afternoon, while cleaning the closet, you find it. An old jacket. You haven't worn it in years, but you recognize it instantly. As you reach into the pocket, your fingers touch something familiar, a lottery ticket. For a split second, your heart reacts before your mind does. Not with excitement, with memory, nights at the table, numbers on the screen, the long wait. You unfold the ticket slowly. Expired, worth nothing. You don't feel anger, you don't feel sadness, you feel understanding. That ticket belonged to a version of you who was doing the best they could with what they knew at the time. Someone who needed hope, even if it came wrapped in paper and promises. You fold it once more and place it in the trash, not as a rejection, as closure. You whisper, "Thank you for getting me through." And then you let the past stay where it belongs. You start making plans again. Not big ones, not the kind that require luck or miracles, just real plans, grounded, possible, yours. You talk to your daughter about visiting more often, maybe helping with the grandkids, maybe taking that short trip you always postponed because it never felt like the right time. You write things down now. Lists that don't include numbers or drawings or dreams deferred. Lists that say things like call, fix, go, rest. Each word feels like a promise you can actually keep. At night, when you sit at the table, there's no ticket beside your mug. There's a notebook instead. Sometimes you don't write anything. You just sit there, breathing, being present. And you realize something quietly amazing. The future doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels open. One evening, someone at the store mentions the lottery. They speak with excitement, numbers, jackpots, dreams. You listen politely, nodding, recognizing the tone. You've worn that hope before. You know how heavy it gets. When they ask if you play, you pause. Then you smile softly and say, "I used to." They look at you curious, maybe expecting advice, maybe expecting regret. But what you feel is peace. You don't preach. You don't warn. You just say, "I realized I was waiting for my life to start." They don't fully understand, and that's okay. As you walk home, you think about how many people are still standing in line, holding tickets, holding breath, holding time. You can't save them, but you can live. And sometimes, that's the message that matters most. There's no celebration for the life you're building now, no applause, no headlines. Just mornings that start without dread, evenings that don't end in disappointment, a quiet confidence that grows each time you choose yourself over waiting. You sit on the porch one afternoon watching the sun sink low in the sky. The air is calm, ordinary, beautiful in a way you never noticed before. You think about how long you believed winning had to be loud. But this feels like victory. You didn't get rich. You didn't escape. You stayed. And you built something steady out of what you already had. One night as you're getting ready for bed, you catch yourself doing something strange. You're smiling. Not because anything extraordinary happened, not because life suddenly became easy, but because you understand something now that took you years to learn. Waiting felt safer than choosing. Hope felt easier than action. The lottery gave you permission to pause your life, to believe that someday would fix everything. Letting go of it forced you to stand where you are and decide what comes next. That realization settles gently into your chest. You turn off the light without checking the news, without wondering about numbers. without imagining a different life. This one is enough to stay awake for. One afternoon, you sit down with a pen and a blank piece of paper. You're not sure why at first. Then you realize who it's for. Not your daughter, not anyone else. It's for the version of you who stood in line all those years ago, clutching hope in the form of a small white ticket. You write slowly. You write about the waiting, about the nights at the table, about the disappointment that came quietly, over and over again. Then you write the words you wish someone had told you sooner. You don't need permission to live. You don't need a miracle to be worthy of peace. Your hand shakes as you sign your name. When you finish, you fold the letter and place it in the drawer, not to hide it but to honor it, because that person carried you as far as they could, and now it's your turn to carry yourself. While cleaning the car, you find it, tucked between the seats, faded, creased, almost forgotten. The last ticket. You hold it in your hand for a long moment, longer than necessary. It feels lighter than you remember, like it's already losing its meaning. You think about tearing it up, but you don't. Instead, you take it home and place it on the table. You look at it, really look at it, without hope or fear attached. Then you do something unexpected. You write today's date on the back, not as a reminder of what you lost, but of what you chose. You fold it once and place it in the drawer next to the letter, not as temptation, as proof. The next morning arrives quietly. No rush, no urge to check anything. You open the window and let the air in. The street sounds ordinary. A car passing, someone walking a dog, a neighbor starting their day. Life moving, steady and real. You make coffee and sit at the table. The drawer stays closed. You don't need to open it to remember what's inside. For the first time in a long while, you think about the day ahead instead of the future far away. What you'll cook, who you might call, where you might go. Small thoughts, honest ones. You realize something simple and powerful. Nothing arrived overnight. And yet, everything feels different. Later that day, you pass the store again. The door opens as someone walks out, ticket in hand, eyes bright with possibility. For a split second, you feel the old pull. Not strong, just familiar. You stop, you breathe, and you keep walking. It's not defiance, it's clarity. You understand now that every time you chose to wait, you were choosing not to live fully in that moment. And every time you keep walking, you're choosing presence over promises. Your steps feel lighter, not because life is easy, but because it's yours again. That evening, your daughter sends you a photo. It's nothing special, just the kids laughing in the backyard, faces messy, hair wild, joy unfiltered. But it stops you in your tracks. You stare at the screen longer than you mean to. This is what you were waiting for all along. Not money, not escape, not a miracle printed on paper. Time, presence, connection. You realize the prize was never something that arrived in your hand. It was something that showed up when you finally stopped waiting and started paying attention. Your eyes fill with tears again, but these are different, softer, grateful. You whisper, almost smiling, "This is enough." That night, you sleep deeply. No numbers chasing you, no screens glowing in the dark. Just rest. You dream of ordinary things, walking, laughing, sitting at a table with people you love. When you wake up, there's no disappointment waiting for you, no reminder of what didn't happen, only calm. You lie there for a moment, listening to your own breathing, and realize something quietly profound. Peace doesn't arrive with fireworks. It settles in when the waiting ends. If someone asked you now what this story is about, you wouldn't mention numbers or jackpots. You would talk about time, about how easy it is to give your days away to a promise that keeps saying, later. About how waiting can feel like hope until it quietly becomes a cage. You'd say that the hardest moment wasn't losing. It was realizing how much life you postponed while expecting something else to begin it for you. And you'd say this gently, without judgment. Nothing changes until you choose to stop waiting. Years from now, no one will remember the tickets you bought, but they will remember the way you showed up. They will remember that you listened, that you were present, that you stopped putting life on hold. The winning lottery ticket never arrived, and somehow that became the greatest gift of all, because the moment you stopped waiting for it, your life finally did.